All right, good Tuesday afternoon. Thank you for hopping on NCSA Live, Next College Student Athlete. I'm David Kamisic, Senior Recruiting Manager here with NCSA. Appreciate y'all taking part of your Tuesday afternoon to hop on here. As we do every Tuesday, we're going to educate and inform about the college athletic recruiting process, and appreciate you guys tuning in, whether it's via Facebook or Twitter, and whatever platform you're on. Feel free to jot down any questions in the comment boxes below. We'll get to as many as we can here over the next half hour or so. Luckily, I don't have to talk to myself for this full half hour. I'm joined by our recruiting manager, Kyle Winters. Kyle, how are you?
I'm doing fantastic, David. It's so great to be here with you again, as we've done so many times before. I'm just really happy.
You know, most people comment that when they're talking to me. So.
Yeah, okay, fine. I get it. You're tired of hearing how enjoyable you are. But,
you know, it's rough. It's a rough life, but someone's got to live it. Something that you're not too familiar with. Anyways, today's topic, we're gonna start in on a specific topic, and we'll certainly branch out. So, again, any questions you all have, whether it be about this specific topic or anything really in the recruiting process, we'll get to as many as we can here over the next half hour or so. But today, we really want to focus in on tips for your NCSA recruiting profile. It's something that we've been talking about forever with NCSA. The recruiting profile is a part of the athletic recruiting process. It's a tool to get more visibility for student athletes. We really want to hit on why do athletes need a recruiting profile. What is needed to post on your recruiting profile. So again, from videos to stats to academic information, coach references, we're going to cover all that here. Obviously, with the pandemic over the past 3.5, 4 months now, recruiting profiles have always been important in recruiting, but since the pandemic and with the restrictions that college coaches have in terms of their ability to be out recruiting right now, and with the lack of actual gameplay happening, it's more important now than ever to have a recruiting profile. And Kyle, that's something that, again, we've talked about here on NCSA Live for the past several months, but this day and age, more now than ever, having that online presence is critical in recruiting, knowing that coaches are online more now than they ever have been in the past, trying to identify and evaluate kids. Because although parts of the world have come to a halt, and certainly there's a lot of uncertainty around the athletic world here heading into the late summer and fall, recruiting hasn't stopped. College coaches are still recruiting student athletes for their classes.
Yeah, I think you absolutely nailed it on the head, that recruiting hasn't stopped by any means. And really, online recruiting has become much more prominent over the last 5, 10, 15 years as a generality. And now with more coaches getting used to it, being quarantined, with no tournaments going on, spring seasons being canceled, they're still planning for these upcoming seasons. They're still planning for 2021, assuming that they're going to be on the same schedule, assuming they're going to be playing games in the fall and the winter and upcoming spring. So they need another resource. And they've realized that one of the best resources they have is looking at online recruiting profiles. And obviously we're going to be biased and partial towards NCSA, but really it is a one-stop shop for anything that a college coach wants or needs to know about a recruit when it comes to the recruiting process, which is why we've seen so much of a shift over the last 5 to 10 years for coaches to start doing a lot of the recruiting in the first place. When they're going out to tournaments, when they're going out to showcases, it's hard for them to go out and skim through 500, 1,000, 1,200, 2,000 kids just hoping to find a prospect. So they've bided their time to be more efficient with their recruiting by identifying prospects they want to go watch in person. Right now, that's about all they can do, is identify and evaluate student athletes and prospects online. So they really relied on that much more than ever before.
Yeah, the old way was always, I'm good enough, coaches are just going to come out and find me. But like anything else in this world, if we're looking for information, the first thing we do is we go to the internet. We try to find, Google information, find information, and that's what college coaches are doing as well. Again, with the NCAA rules in place where Division I schools cannot be out recruiting until August 31st right now is what that deadline is. And again, that's been pushed back from May 15th originally to the end of June, end of July, now to the end of August. And Division II coaches being in a quiet period as well during all of this, they don't have the ability to just go out and see student athletes play. That's not possible. It's all done online, and having an NCSA profile is one way to really make sure that you're getting that added exposure and that you're having a place for college coaches to see all of your information. Now, having a profile, it's not required to get recruited, but it's an extremely helpful tool that makes it easier for colleges and more colleges to recruit you as well. Again, a lot of schools recruit regionally, where if you have a profile online, that can be visible to college coaches throughout the entire country. So again, it's important to have an online profile. That's always been the case. It's been a big part of NCSA and the recruiting process, but now more than ever, again, knowing that these college coaches are still trying to identify student athletes, but don't have the ability to just hop in a car, hop in a plane, whatever the case is, go to a tournament and see these kids. They're relying online. April and May for the college coaches, we had more activity from college coaches in our network in those 2 months than we ever have before. So again, it shows that college coaches are online. And again, with all this coronavirus, COVID stuff, and the uncertainty of sports and everything, it's that much more important for coaches and certainly for student athletes as well. So for many of you that have an NCSA profile, you kind of are aware of what that is. But Kyle, for those families or those student athletes that haven't yet created their NCSA profile, there's a lot of different things that you can put on there. So let's talk a little bit about what to be posting on your profile. Obviously, with, again, coaches not being able to see kids in person, one of the most important things, if not the most important thing for your NCSA profile is going to be your recruiting video, your highlight video, your skills video, whatever sport it is. But having a video online for coaches to evaluate on your NCSA profile is certainly critical.
Yeah, 100%. The video is going to be one of the main points of reference for college coaches. And a good way of looking at this is going to be as if it were a resume that you're trying to apply for a job. This is essentially your athletic resume. And if you're going to try and catch an employer's eye, you're going to want to put your best facts, your best information forward for that employer to want to hire you. Similarly with a student athlete, you want to put your best foot forward. You want to show a college coach every reason why they should be recruiting you over anyone else out there. And highlight video or skills video is really the main way that a college coach is going to evaluate a student athlete and a prospect. Having stats is great. Having key stats with like your numbers, your velocity, your 40 time, 60 time, all those types of metrics are great to have on your profile, but they don't necessarily talk about the level of competition you're playing against when we talk about stats. It doesn't necessarily tell the full picture of what type of student athlete you are just by having stats or metrics or information listed on there, or your team or your schedule. All those things are great to have on your profile, but the video is going to be the first thing that a college coach looks for. It's really, in most cases, the first way that a college coach will ever see you as a prospect. I can talk about my younger sister, who was a Division I college softball player. She was recruited solely off of a highlight video she made as a softball player on VHS tape in high school. Her coaches never saw her play in person once. So that just goes to show the power of video and how important it is to just initially getting recruited in the first place when it comes to college coaches.
Yeah, and again, that's becoming more common during this time where, again, the coaches are prohibited from going out and recruiting. There's just less tournaments, and again, the pandemic has really made that shift where that video is that much more important. And again, you can post your video on YouTube. You can have video on Huddle. That's great. The more places you have, the better. But also link that onto your NCSA profile. Because when a coach is in our network and they're saying, "Hey, we're looking for a 2021 point guard," and they pull up your profile in a search, they want to be able to see that video to begin to evaluate you. Most times, a college coach is going to need to see a video first before they would even come out and see you play in person. They're not just going to show up and hope that you're good without knowing anything about you or without having seen you play on video. So again, having a highlight video is important. And Kyle, it's not just post one video and you're done. You're going to want to continue to update your video as you get older, as you get bigger, as you get stronger, as you get better highlights. How often do you think student athletes, or what should families be doing in terms of updating that video to keep it up to date in terms of where that student athlete might be in their development or in their high school career?
Yeah, it's a good question. One we get a lot from a lot of parents and a lot of student athletes out there. And it can depend based on the student athlete. If you're making great strides, if you're a lot better 3 months after you make a video, if you grow 6 inches, you grow a lot, you get bigger and stronger, it's probably a good time to make that video anytime you make those big shifts or adjustments or changes. But as a generality, typically we talk about 2 videos a year every 6 months or so. So one at the beginning of the year, maybe one in the middle, one at the end. So 2 to 3. If we're a football player, maybe you want one after your first couple games of the season, and then maybe one at the end that encapsulates all your highlights. But it's something you can continue adding to as well. It's something that you can continue getting new clips on there. If you have more clips that really stand out, that are going to really make you pop, those are things that you want to continue adding to it. But at the end of the day, you don't necessarily want to be sending a college coach a new highlight video, a new skills video every 2 weeks. That they're not really going to be able to pick up the changes. They're not going to be able to see the difference between one video 1 week to 2 weeks later. There's not going to be that much change in there. So you want to show those vast differences over a length of like 6 months or so a coach can actually see how much better you've gotten, how much bigger, how much stronger you've gotten over that time period.
Yeah, and again, with seasons being canceled, kids not having the opportunity to play, coaches are also a little bit more open to the kind of videos that they're interested. Most coaches want to see game footage. They want to see you in your sport competing at a high level. But again, with not a whole lot of that going on right now, it's okay to put maybe more of a skills video together, get in a gym, get on a diamond, get on the pitch, whatever sport you're in, and still put something together so coaches are able to see you. So if you don't have video right now, don't feel like you have to wait for your season to go. You can still have some sort of a skills video to supplement maybe that game footage that you can get hopefully at some point in the fall or the winter, whenever your sport is, assuming that sports are back in, which is a different conversation for a different time. Also, what we have a place for on the profile that's important for college coaches is stats. Kyle did mention earlier that stats aren't going to tell the entire story, but they are important to have, specifically in sports like swimming, track, cross country, golf, any number-based sports where your times or your scores are really going to tell the story. Those are critical to have on your recruiting profile. But if you're in a team sport, it's not as big of a deal. Again, keep the focus as much on you, but your stats can be a little bit misleading depending on the level of competition, depending on the league, the team that you play for. Something that's really become more and more common, Kyle, is verified stats. So in different sports, for like football with your 40-yard time, for baseball, softball, pop times, for volleyball, your approach jump. But that's something that's becoming more common is testing athletes and their measurables. And it's important to have those on the profile as well so coaches are able to see your numbers. Yeah,
absolutely. It's one thing to put onto your profile that you run a 6'4", 60 and just put that number in there. Coach is probably going to want to see, well, let's prove that. So there are different events, combines, showcases you can go out to throughout the year that are going to test some of those metrics and get you some official times. But this kind of goes back to the video as well. If you have some of those times and numbers, the video is going to showcase it as much or more than anything. That way the coach can test it on their own. They can really be the ones who are judging that. And we should say, if you want any help with adding video to your profile, you can check out our YouTube channel for more information on how to upload your videos to your NCSA profile. But going back into the numbers and the stats, don't want to downplay those. Those are still going to be very important because you're going to have some video where you have players that are pretty similar, but maybe there are some metrics that separate them. In sports like swimming and track, that is the biggest separator. That is going to be what separates maybe the athlete gets into a program that gets recruited, gets a scholarship, versus the athlete who maybe has to walk onto that program, or maybe isn't quite good enough to go to a specific program in general. So there are a bunch of different factors. That's why there are so many different areas that you can really showcase yourself within the profile itself, outside of just video, outside of just having a little basic information about yourself.
Great. We'll get some great questions coming in. So again, we'll get to some here in a few minutes, but keep them coming. Again, anything specific to our topic or anything outside of what we're talking about, we'll answer as many questions as we can. Also, for a spot on the NCSA profile is any events, any tournaments, any games that you're playing in, that schedule, having that available online. Your profile is something important for college coaches to see. Again, that has been impacted by the coronavirus pandemic, and typically that's something coaches are going to pay very close attention to if they do want to come see a student athlete play in person. Once they've had a chance to check out your video, they check out your stats, then they'll typically maybe want to come see you play in person if it's something that's doable for them. Again, with the limitations in place by the NCAA, college coaches aren't really able to do that. But again, it's still important that once everything normals out, to get your schedule, get all that information online. We've hit on a lot of the academic or the athletic side of things, Kyle, but equally as important and is a huge thing for these student athletes and their profiles is getting their academic information online. So transcripts, GPA, ACT, SAT test scores, coaches want to see that information on the profiles just as much.
Yeah, it definitely can't be undervalued. It's something you touch on pretty regularly, is that if you have two student athletes that are pretty similar and you have a hard time comparing them, the first place coaches are going to go in a lot of those scenarios are going to be the academics. Is this the student athlete who's going to bring up our GPA as a team? Is this a student athlete who I'm going to be able to give some academic scholarship money to and save my athletic scholarship money? Is this student athlete that is going to come in and hold others to a higher standard when it comes to grades as well? All those are big factors when it comes to the recruiting process, because it is a giant competition. That is something that factors in as well. And coaches want to know that this student athlete coming in isn't going to be a problem. This isn't someone that I'm going to have several conversations with about their grades, or talk with them about having to drop classes, or to start adding new classes or taking different classes because they're not doing well in the classroom. That's the last thing that a college coach wants to think about and worry about, is that you can't make the grade in the classroom. So just having that mentality really bought in, and as a part of you as a student athlete as a whole, from high school moving on, it just sets a good precedent for you going into not just college, but into the rest of your life as well, being that kind of individual.
Yeah, and that's one of the advantages for college coaches with our network, is they're able to see all that information in one place, right? They've got a chance to look at your video, they got a chance to look at your stats, your upcoming schedule. Okay, I want to check the student athlete's grades. Yep, he or she is somebody that we can recruit based on our academic requirements. So again, it's a one-stop shop for college coaches to log into the profile, have all that information at one click of a button, versus having to go to your counselor, your academic advisor at school, whatever the case is. So again, having that transcript is going to make coaches' lives and jobs much easier, and it also verifies that information. It's not just you saying, "Oh yeah, I've got a 3.5 GPA," when your transcript's actually a 3.0. That information is right there for college coaches to be able to see all of that. One thing we're going to talk about next week on our Facebook Live is really diving deeper into the academic side and eligibility. So that's something that we'll cover next week. But again, having that academic information, having that on your profile is extremely important. Again, if I'm a college coach and I have certain minimum requirements, and I'm searching in NCSA's network for, again, a 2021 outside hitter with at least a 3.0 GPA, that simplifies my search, and I'm not maybe wasting time searching student athletes that aren't going to academically be a fit for my program. Other places on the profile, you can add coach references. So again, always good to have somebody who will vouch for your character, your hard work, be able to, again, be a reference for you based on your past experience. So again, whether that's a club coach, a high school coach, a trainer, anyone that you've been working with that is willing to speak up on your behalf and provide a little bit more insight into the type of person you are, not just what kind of an athlete you are, what kind of a student you are. You can put those on there as well. And then Kyle, it's pretty simple, pretty self-explanatory, but your contact information, have that on your profile, and make sure that your email address isn't something really ridiculous. Media handles aren't something really ridiculous. Create a professional recruiting email or account. Again, little stuff like that is important in the process, and something that college coaches want to see on your recruiting profile.
Yeah, well, it's fun to have that Transformers Forever email address from when you were 12 years old. It's probably going to not look that great for a college coach. So yeah, definitely keep that tight, keep that professional. On the coach referencing side, just to add on that, a lot of people out there get it kind of backwards in thinking that their high school coach or travel coach is going to be the one who makes the initial introduction to a college coach, or that they're going to be the ones that market them to college coaches. And if you guys have that, that's great. Just from my experience being a travel coach, having had plenty of high school coaches, I just didn't know that many college coaches. I didn't know as many coaches as you could find in our network. So it's great if you have that type of resource that can help you out with that. But more often than not, your coach is going to be someone that they come to for a reference after they've already identified you and evaluated you, and they want to know about your character. So it's important to note just that the order that those are going to go in, typically they're going to come to your coach after they already know who you are, after they already know they're interested. They're going to go find out about your character from there. But yeah, make sure coaches know how to find you, because there's a million athletes out there, and they don't have your phone number. They're probably not going to call you.
I never knew you were such a big Transformers fan.
I mean, why would you not be? How could you not be? Optimus Prime, come on.
I'm not arguing with you. Now I know your childhood email. So again, a lot of great stuff that you can put on your profile. It's important to have as much information on there as possible. Again, that resume, that profile is competing against thousands of student athletes that are your age, competing for those roster spots as well. So the more information you can get on your profile, the better that is for college coaches to see. It's only going to help you in your recruiting process, more exposure, get more connectivity, more visibility to college programs throughout the entire country. And if you have any questions, or if you've had issues or are trying to figure out how to get your NCSA recruiting profile started, reach out to us, drop us a line in the boxes below. We can reach out to you individually or you can shoot us an email. It's live@ncsasports.org. So again, we want to make sure that each student athlete has the profile, has the ability to get that set up, and again, uses that as a resource. It's not the only way to get recruited again, but it certainly is a helpful way and in a critical way these days to have an online presence so that college coaches can see you, again, knowing the limited travel and the limited ability that coaches have to be out recruiting kids or bringing kids on campus, again, with the COVID and all the rules in place for the NCAA. So we're going to start taking some questions here. Got a couple questions about video. We're going to start with one from Jessica, Kyle. This, again, speaks perfectly to you with your youngest sister. I know you and your other sister made a video for her, but does the video have to be done professionally?
Let me tell you, the Winters family are no professionals when it comes to putting together skills videos or having any sort of artistic ability whatsoever. That is not our forte. That being said, my youngest sister, who's 19, who just finished up her first year in college, we made every single one of her skills videos in the sense that we shot them. We had NCSA go ahead and make the videos, but recording-wise, we would use a cell phone, we would use a tablet, we would get her out on the field, make sure we were in the right angles, take a bunch of reps, make sure that it looked good enough that we could actually see her swing and see her mechanics, whatever it may have been. And then really that was kind of it. It doesn't need necessarily be professional. You don't need to spend $500 on a professionally made video. As long as you're showcasing your student athlete, it's going to be enough to get that student athlete recruited. She got recruited despite our lack of ability to frame her up and put her in the center of the camera and do basically everything right.
Yeah, it's something that you guys can shoot yourself. You see a lot of parents in the crowds of games, with cameras. Editing it may take a little bit more work if you're not too familiar with how to edit a highlight video. Again, that's part of what NCSA provides to families is the ability to edit that video into a professional, high quality, 4 to 5 minute highlight tape. For certain sports, they want to be able to identify the athlete. So if you're an offensive lineman in football, putting a circle around that student athlete or an arrow to identify them at the beginning of the play. So again, something you can shoot on your own. If you have the ability to edit on your own, certainly do so. Again, if that's something you're looking for help with, we have a professional video team in our offices here. So another video question from Rhonda, another good one, Kyle. There have been confusion with music. Should we add music to the highlight videos? Rhonda specifically mentions instrumentals, which is good. You don't need a lot of cursing and the latest, the baby song.
Yeah, I've gotten 2 videos from my sister in the last week alone of highlight videos and skills videos for softball players that had somewhat explicit songs listed. It was the same song, in fact, a couple different times. And she said to me saying, I don't think this is right for your video. So I would steer away from music in general in your highlight or skills video. It doesn't really do much to add to the video. Probably the first thing the coach is going to do is hit mute. They don't necessarily want to listen to, I think it might have been Kendrick Lamar songs that were posted on a couple of videos, which I don't necessarily know what that has to do with softball, but it didn't really go along all that well. Yeah,
video isn't going to help, or music isn't going to help your video, right?
Right.
Video is going to speak for itself. So whether you have music or not, I would err on the side of not. When we edit the videos here at NCSA, we don't put any music underneath there. Again, we do that because we try to do as much as we can for what college coaches are looking for. So again, better off leaving the video out. It's an extra step. It's just a little fancy thing that isn't going to make much of a difference. Coaches are going to pick you over somebody else because your video is better, you had video and that person didn't. So Chris has a question here. It relates to stats, which we talked about. Specifically, this will relate to cross country. Similarly, you can probably put track and swimming and some of the other time sports in there. But what does a strong cross country video show, since running doesn't change much, just time? For cross country, Kyle, you don't really need a video. The times are going to do most of the talking. They don't want to see, as a parent, you don't have to be on a golf cart, recording 20 minutes of your student athlete running around a trail. But for other sports like track, swimming, golf, coaches will sometimes want to see video of that, even though, again, the times are really going to do the most talking. But a video can be more of a nice to have in those sports than a requirement.
Yeah, I mean, if you're going along for 20 minutes videotaping a cross country meet, that's impressive. I'm really blown away by your dedication, but probably the coach isn't going to watch 20 minutes worth of video for most sports, especially the first time they see them. So yeah, it's a nice to have. You can maybe have like the kick coming down the stretch if you're kind of going hard towards the finish line. That might be something worth having in there. For sprinters, it's maybe worth having just your stride in there to show coaches what you look like as far as your running form goes. But yeah, at the end of the day, it's really not the most important thing. The biggest keys, I think, with track and time sports like that is just knowing that a lot of student athletes do qualify. A lot of student athletes do have good enough times to compete at the collegiate level. So it's about competition, about knowing where you fit in, where your times fit for what college coaches want to see, and being the one those coaches know about versus one of the other tens of thousands of student athletes out there who have similar times to you. Why is that coach recruiting you versus that other person? So it comes down to competition versus a lot of people have pretty similar times when it comes to sports like track and cross country, swimming, golf, a little bit the same in that same sense as well.
Cool. All right, we got a question from Daryl that we're going to pop out here. So how do you get to see the invites and how do you fill out the questionnaires? So again, within the recruiting profiles, student athletes have the ability to be able to see information from college coaches, fill out questionnaires. It's part of kind of the process that simplifies that for student athletes within the profile. Kyle, we do have a verification process for each student athlete. We provide a recruiting assessment for each student athlete to make sure that they are academically and athletically qualified first and foremost before a profile is made visible fully to college coaches in our network. And then for families that are looking for the additional tools, the additional help, there are membership side of things as well that families can take advantage of, where they're able to fill out the questionnaires, be able to see who's viewed their profile, a lot of the different bells and whistles that come with some of the more detailed that again simplifies it. It puts it all in a one-stop shop. But filling out questionnaires, seeing the camp invites, again, get through our recruiting assessment process first and foremost. If you haven't done that, again, reach out to us, let us know. That's something that we can get set up for you guys. There's no cost involved with getting the profile verified, going through that assessment. But again, some of that additional stuff, being able to see the invites, the questionnaires, would come with maybe some of our additional tools and resources. But the profile overall, Kyle, there's a huge plus to having it verified, having it in the network, whether families choose to pursue the additional help or not. So again, if you're worried about the finances, and we had a comment in there about costing money and that sort of stuff, which again, certainly we have a service side that provides a little bit more help in the process. But either way, start that NCSA profile, whether you guys are looking to pursue that additional help or not, Kyle, because that's going to give you an online platform and a one-stop shop for college coaches to, again, have access to your information. Again, once we verify it, once we get that recruiting assessment set up.
Yeah, I think you nailed it on the head. As a generality, we've talked about the fact you don't 100% need a recruiting profile, but for the vast majority of student athletes out there, you need something. You need an athletic resume for college coaches to utilize to find you as a prospect. There are just so many athletes out there. There's so many high schools. There's so many travel programs. It's incredibly difficult for college coaches to find you these days. So you need a place for college coaches to find you. The other big aspect, you mentioned the recruiting assessment that we go through to verify and activate the profiles into our network. The biggest aspect of that is now what do you do with the profile? Having the profile is great, but one thing that we're going to tell every student athlete, every family that we talk to, just having a profile isn't enough. It's about being proactive with that. It's about using it to reach out to college coaches. It's about how you proactively market yourself to college coaches. And that's really what that assessment goes over and covers, is how to effectively do that towards the schools that are going to be the right fit for you, for what you're looking for your goals, for your future in general. And then you guys can really take with that what you want. You can choose to utilize the help that we can provide to use those services, or you guys can take the recommendations and the guidance that we give and do that on your own. But it's really about doing what you need to do with or without NCSA's help. That you have to do something. You have to have a profile, and you have to be proactive for the vast majority of student athletes.
Yeah, our goal is to educate every family on the recruiting process. We want to make sure that you know how to go about this process, whether it's something you choose to do on your own, or if it's something that you're looking for that additional help in the process, right? So again, have an online profile. It's a great place to start. It's especially now needed more than ever with all of the restrictions, all of the new rules in place in terms of coaches and the NCAA and COVID and them not being able to be out recruiting, not having camps, not being able to, showcases and tournaments, the things that they would sometimes do to help them in the recruiting process. It's all starting online right now. So again, have a profile, go through our assessment process, get that information verified, make sure you know where to go from here in recruiting, and we're going to give you all that information. And then again, if the extra tools that we offer make sense, great. If not, you know how to get this process done, and you have a good a base for where to go from here. So again, we appreciate all the questions that came pouring in. Again, if you have any questions about your profile, getting one set up, what to do with it, knowing where you're at in the process, reach out to us. Again, live@ncsasports.org is an email address, or you can drop us a comment or just give us a call. We'll be more than happy to speak with you individually about your student athlete. We do want to recognize a trio of student athletes who have utilized the profile, have gone through this process, and have found success with their recent commitments. So Kyle, we'll start it with Gavin Terry here.
Yep, I'll kick it off with Gavin Terry with the sweet lefty swing and the sweet stirrups too, I must add. Looking really sharp. Those are good looking high school uniforms right there. But Gavin is a 2020 baseball player out of Homewood, Illinois. He's committing to Western Illinois University, I should say. So congrats, Gavin. Really looking forward to seeing how things go for you here in college over the next 4 years.
Awesome. On the track side, we have Mandela Nelson, student athlete from Georgia. He's a distance runner. He's staying in state. He committed to Thomas University, which is an NAIA program in Georgia. So again, for track athletes, again, having those times, having that verified information online for college coaches. If you got the times and you can compete in college, it's going to open up that many more doors for you. And then back to the diamond for our third and final one, Kyle.
Tyler Priest is our final commit of the day, and this one's a little bit near and dear to my heart, but Tyler's a 2020 baseball player, got 142 views from college coaches while using his NCSA profile. He's headed to St. Mary's, the Gales, which is a Division I program out of Washington. Pretty familiar, a good friend of mine that I played professional baseball with in the Marlins organization for about 6 or 7 years, Corey Madden, as a alum of St. Mary's, got drafted out of there and played professionally for several years. So congrats, Tyler. Really headed to an outstanding program back out west. So congrats.
Yeah, and Tyler's family started this process early. They got the profile set up with NCSA middle of his freshman year. 3.5 years later, the results speak for himself. So congratulations to Gavin, Mandela, and Tyler. They're all for their recent commitment, and hopefully there'll be seasons to be played during their freshman years here. But again, that's still a different topic for a different time. As for the topic again, next week we're really going to hit on the academic eligibility requirements. Again, we talked about having transcripts, GPA, SAT, ACT scores on your recruiting profile. Next week, Kyle Winters and Danny Koenig, one of our directors of regional recruiting, will be together to really hit more specifically about what are those academic requirements, what puts you in positions to scholarships based on GPAs, test scores, all that sort of stuff. So Kyle and Danny will certainly dive more into that next week. Right, Kyle?
Can't wait. Excited.
Transformers at optimusprimus.com.
.com.
All right, he's Kyle Winters. He's Kyle Winters. I'm David Kamisek. As always, we appreciate you taking part of your Tuesday afternoon to listen to us talk about recruiting, and appreciate the questions as well. Again, any other questions you have, visit our website, ncsasports.org, or reach out to us directly. We're more than happy to have a one-on-one conversation with you about your student athlete and make sure that you're, again, getting your profile set up, you're on the right path here for the recruiting process. So until next Tuesday, have a wonderful rest of your week. Take care.